What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down some of the best wide receiver press releases that you guys can learn. We're going to give you guys the name of the press release, the technique behind it, and then a full speed example of it. So let's get started. Also, fellas, if you're a wide receiver or a quarterback and you would like to train with us this offseason, we're going to be traveling out to 11 more states across the country for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver training camps. Next up on our camp tour, we'll be coming out to Dallas, Texas. Then we'll be heading out to the Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia area. Then we'll be coming out to St. Louis, Missouri, Honolulu, Hawaii, Boston, Massachusetts, Cleveland, Ohio, Austin, Texas, Seattle, Washington, Newark, New Jersey, Denver, Colorado, and Los Angeles, California. So if you guys are local to one of those cities and would like to get some work in with us for 2 whole days of training, check out that very first link in the description below. We'd love to have you out to one of our off-season camps. Let's get back to this video. Alright guys, so the first release that we're going to be talking about is something called a split release. So a split release is a release that I personally like when you got a DB who's in like head up press coverage, he's right in front of you, and this is kind of a great release to kind of freeze him and then leave him, but also to be able to get a read on this DB. So if he's in head up press, he doesn't necessarily tell you what leverage he is. A lot about press releases is about being able to know how to attack a leverage and why a DB is lined up a certain spot. When he's like inside shade, he's inside shade for a reason. He's trying to take away the inside. But when he's head up, we don't know what leverage he's trying to keep, inside, outside, whatever. So a split release is exactly how it sounds. You're going to take your front foot and move it out and bring your back foot up even with your front foot, essentially splitting your feet, trying to freeze this DB. Now, there are variations of the split release. You could do this split release and give a fake to the inside, fake to the outside, whatever it might be, or you could simply just split and pick whichever direction to go. Now, the reason why I like this against head up press is, like I said, it's a way to react off of the DB. So if he's head up, and let's say we do this split, and I split my feet, but he shades to the inside. On this split release, when your feet are outside your frame, you're in a position of balance. I could push and go to the outside, I could push and go to the inside, reacting off of the DB. So I do this split, he shades to the inside, I could just push and go because my feet got to that position of balance. So split release is a great release to use when you have a head up press coverage DB. Again, the mechanics of this split, front foot goes out, back foot even with the front, you want to pretend like you're underneath a small door. The mistake guys will make on this is they split and they pop up. Easy jam for that DB, and that's an easy way to get us knocked off this route. I'm going to show you how this thing is going to look full speed. Alright guys, so the next release I want to talk about is a release called a wide step release. So a wide step release is something you would want to use against head up press or outside shade press. But we're going to use the example of like outside shade press for right now. So what a wide step release is very similar to the split release that we just covered. Honestly, it sounds exactly like how the name is. So a wide step is where you step with your back foot wide, trying to move this DB off of this platform or attack his leverage when he is outside of you to take that inside release. So this is an inside release press release that you can use. Now, what are we trying to sell with this wide step? I'm obviously in a stance. Let's say the ball's over here to the left. I'm trying to sell like I'm doing a speed release fade, like I'm going to the outside. So this wide step has to have some explosion, and I actually have to step wide in order to move this DB off his platform. So we have to do something on this wide step called a kick step or a prep step to be able to generate speed. So if I go here, a kick step, heavily scrutinized move. A lot of people think it's a false step, but it's not. It's a part of the release, and you watch any NFL wide receiver do a press release, they do a variation of this. So it's where you take your back foot and you essentially kick it behind your front foot. We do this to be able to load up my hips to generate power so I could throw into this wide step or any other release. So we come off here, we do this kick step. Now it's important on this wide step. DB's outside shade. He's outside shade for a reason. He's trying to prevent the outside route. So if I'm threatening him to the outside, I actually have to be able to step to the outside. I don't want to do this release with this wide step and go flat. Because when I go flat, I still got to get back to the inside, and I'm not closing the gap. I'm not threatening him. I'm not stepping onto his toes, which isn't going to get him to move. So on this wide step, we need to take this kick behind, throw, attack his leverage to the outside, and slip inside to take the inside release. So I'm going to show you this thing's going to look full speed. Alright guys, so this next release that I want to talk about is going to be against inside shade press, and this is for an outside release. So something that all great wide receivers can do, whether this is off of a wide step, a split release, a slide release that I'm sure a lot of you have heard of, all great wide receivers can pair their routes and pair their releases together. That means they make their releases look very similar so we're not predictable to a DB. And that's exactly what this next release, which I call a wide step double tap, is about. So if I got a DB who's inside shade, remember, what's his goal when then he's lined up to the inside of me, right? I'm on the right side, quarterback's to the left, he's in an inside shade. He's trying to take away the inside route. Just like when he was outside shade, he's trying to take away what? He's trying to take away the outside route. So if he's inside shade, and let's say I got to run a fade route, I want to make it look like the wide step, but also make it look like I'm trying to take a hard inside release. So I got to make my feet look similar. So we come off the line, this wide step double tap. We still do the kick step to load up my hips. We take a wide step, not as wide as the original release, and I'll explain why in a second. So we take one, jab back to the inside two, and then I burst off to the outside. Now the reason why we don't want to take as big of a first step is because on a wide step, we're trying to get him to jump to the outside to go inside. But if I got to throw a second move to the inside and I'm super wide, I can't really push. So it's important that this first step, there's quickness. It looks the same in terms of a kick step and how you step, but it's a little bit of a shorter step because we need to threaten the inside on this. So we go here, kick step one, jab back to the inside two, and then burst back off to the outside, threatening that inside shade press. So a wide step double tap is a great release to beat inside shade. I'm gonna show you this is gonna look full speed. All right, guys, so the next release that I want to talk about is a great release to use when you have to run a slant route versus inside shade press coverage, and this release is going to be called a diamond release. Now, I'm sure some of you have heard of this. The reason why they call it a diamond release is because the way you run this route looks similar to like a diamond shape, where it's almost like in a V and then it comes back over the middle, right? So, diamond release slant. I'm going to break down the steps of it and the mechanics, and then the reason why we want to use it. So he's inside shade, I got to run a slant. I know for a fact when he's inside shade, what's he trying to take away? He's trying to take away the slant, the dig, the post. So he's not just going to give up the inside release. What a lot of guys will do, let's say they have inside shade, maybe a little bit past this cone. Guys will come up here and they'll try to just run. But when a DB is disciplined, he is not going to give up the inside release like that. So we have to threaten him vertically. We have to make him think I am running a fade. And I can do that in 3 steps with this diamond release. So I come off here, I go right at his outside shoulder and outside hip 1, 2, 3, I put the brakes on, swap by, slip back underneath. So when you have to run a route to the leverage, that is when you maybe want to attack his outside shoulder and his outside hip. We do not want to force it because he's just going to force me to the inside because that is his whole purpose with that release. Now on this diamond release, most important thing about these 3 steps is just like selling vertical on any route that we run. I have to come off the ball long strides, I got to commit my hips and shoulders, and I got to run fast. So when I put the brakes on, I got him committed. A DB has to commit to a fade at some point in a route when he's in man coverage. Because again, no DB wants to get beat deep. It's just a matter of I'm going to sell it as a wide receiver. So I'm going to show you how this thing's going to look semi-full speed. I'm in tennis shoes on turf, so probably not going to be able to cut on a dime as quick as I would like to. But I'm going to show you this is going to look semi-full speed. All right, guys, so this next release is going to be a little bit on the fancier side of things, but this is a situation where we have inside shade press coverage, but maybe there's about a 2 to 3 yard gap of space between us and the DB. So when I have a DB who's lined up, and let's say he's maybe, again, 2 to 3 yards inside, like kind of where, I know you can't really see it on this camera, but there's like a white line right where I'm stepping right now, maybe about that far from me, right? 2 to 3 yards inside shade. Number one thing I have to do, let's say I got to run a route like a fade route, 10-yard out, some kind of outside breaking route. Number one is I have to attack his leverage. I can't just take off and go run to the outside because that's exactly what he wants me to do. When he has that 2 to 3 yard cushion, he's hoping that I just try to run around him so he can get hands and wall me to his help. And his help would be the sideline when he's inside leverage because he's trying to prevent the inside route, force the wide receiver outside. So what I got to do, my mindset needs to be, I want to close the space with him. I want to eat up that cushion, and I obviously want to threaten his leverage. So I'm using something called a kick step crossover release. Now, if a couple of you guys maybe remember this, about 2 years ago when the Rams won the Super Bowl, Cooper Kupp used this exact release on the goal line to catch that game-sealing fade. So what you do, your first step is going to be with your back foot. Your back foot is going to kick behind your front foot. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's kick, gather, crossover. I'm going to show you this is going to look full speed as well. But as we do this, we are trying to close space with that DB. I kick, gather, crossover to eat up his cushion, to try to almost step on his toes, but also threaten his leverage to set me up back to the outside. So I'm going to show you this release is going to look full speed. All right, guys, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. We always appreciate the feedback, and it's always great to hear from you guys as usual. And again, fellas, if you'd like to train with us in 11 different states this off-season, we're coming out to Dallas, all the way to Los Angeles, California. Check out that very first link in the description below. We'd love to get you out to one of our off-season camps. I'll see you guys next time.